anything like that before.
I don't know. I don't know. It's a butterfly.
It looks like the skin of some animal spread out.
Might be part of the human anatomy.
One of the flying mammals?
It looks like a piece of metal.
A bat?
All of us see the world from our own point of view. And, of course, the more diverse our backgrounds, our racial influences, naturally, the more we see things differently.
Looks like two raccoons about to attack each other.
Yeah, I'd say it's a bear or an animal of some type on top of some rocks in the wilderness, and the reflections in the lake.
It looks like two rats on either side of a flying bat kind of an object.
I see two pigs, or one pig mirrored by itself as it's at the trough feeding, and the dirt and the water underneath is pink in color with the sunlight in the background.
I don't have any idea.
Reminds me of sea life, crabs, lobsters, that kind of thing.
One of the things that many people have to do is learn how to see, learn how to look for things other than the things they expect to be there.
As a psychiatrist, I am concerned very much with how we filter out or select from the range of possible responses we can have, how we select out certain particular ones to see by.
You're born with the ability to see, but the ability to see, like the rest of your body, goes through a period of maturation. Your ability, for instance, to focus on near objects also develops as you grow older. Another and probably even more important aspect of it is that, for instance, if a child develops a cataract, and if that cataract remains there, then the brain will not learn how to see. And if you then remove the cataract, even though the eye is perfectly normal, the camera is perfectly normal, the film, the brain, won't see it. The eye is very similar to the camera in the sense that it contains both mechanisms for focusing the light that comes into it, that would be the lens, and a mechanism for limiting the light that comes into it, that's the iris diaphragm, just like the camera diaphragm, and a method for converting the light to another form of energy. In the camera, it's changing the silver crystal, and in the eye, it's changing the light energy into a nervous impulse, which will then be carried to the brain.
It's the brain that receives messages which are filtered through the senses. We see with our brains by kind permission of our eyes.
The eye then is much like the mailbox in that it's a receptacle for information. From there, it's picked up by a mailman or a mail truck and transmitted to the post office. Well, that mailman or mail truck corresponds to the optic nerve, and it's along that path that the information, your letter, is transmitted. Ultimately, the light, transferred to nervous energy, reaches the brain. There, that nervous impulse is interpreted, and you see. Well, a very similar thing happens with your letter.
One of the problems that every lawyer faces is the first thing you learn is not to believe your client. Because, not that he's lying to you, or she, it's that they see the conflict that they're involved with from their own point of view, their own perspective, based upon their own self-interest.
That girl, the one with the
Who started?
She's
What happened?
There were something like 20 witnesses that saw that, eyewitnesses, and all 20 saw it differently. It was astounding. The major differences in people's perception is not in the input itself, but it's in what happens once it goes in, and once we start editing it, and once we start bringing it back out.
Don't jump! Don't jump to conclusion.
I don't think there's as much range in the input as there is in what happens to it inside.
This is itself the result of all one's past conditioning and education, the way one learned to look at the world through the long years of growing up. And this way of looking takes on a particular form, a form of one coloration or another, depending on one's experience.
Pardon me, sir. Can you tell me what you think this dot might be?
Yeah, it's a golf ball.
What do you think this dot is?
It looks to me like an aspirin.
How about you? Look like anything special?
It's a manhole.
Any idea what this thing is?
It's a plate.
What does this thing remind you of?
It's a baseball.
Feelings affect the way I see things, just as my senses do. They are a filter. My philosophy is a filter. My past experience is a filter. All these things alter the nature of my perception of anything, and I believe they must logically alter the perception of any human being.
Everybody is capable of perceiving much more than they currently perceive. The best examples I can think of are people who are trained in the analysis of aerial photographs. What to you and I would look completely out of focus is easily identified by these people, and to us it looks like a series of dots. So through the proper training we can learn to appreciate the existence of certain things in what we see, which weren't there for us before.
If you can understand what is happening, not just the surface of what is happening, but the motivations behind it, you can see much more clearly the surface as well. It's like an experienced sailor looking at a body of water, say in a bay. He can tell by the ripples on the surface what the current is doing, what the wind is doing. He can tell an awful lot because he observes with previous experience of observing very carefully and collating information and putting it together and making certain deductions which are then constantly tested every time he observes. This is true of a naturalist too.
Wilderness can help heighten a person's awareness and perception because you see things differently. When I spend a weekend out with a group, if I'm uptight about something at work or about friends or whatever, I find that I come back to it with a new perception. It seems to clean my mind and refreshen it so I can look at old problems with a new point of view. When you go out to an area, you get to know it better. It's just like a human friend. You notice different things about a person. You understand better their sense of humor and their personality. It's like that when you go out to an area that you know well. You go one time and you just notice that it's got a steep cliff. You go another time and you notice that it's got different kinds of plants, and that one plant happens to live in one place, and there happens to be some kind of a funny bird that's attracted to that kind of plant. People can look up at the sky any place they are. If they're in the middle of the city. If you happen to be in a place where you're surrounded by trees and in instead of cement, it's a lot easier to see animals and a lot easier to see relationships between different parts of nature. But I don't think it necessarily has to be in the wilderness. By seeing things differently, it helps you go back and see your own life a little differently with a fresh look.
And I think that that's true not only with what we see, but with what we hear and what we taste and what we feel. And I think we ought to appreciate that each one of us, on the basis of previous experience, will get a different thing out of a perception.
Flowers and butterflies.
Like a heart.
That's a crab.
Bat flying through the air.
Hello everybody, I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the Lunchtime AV Geeks streaming show. That was Perception, The Eye Within, made by Barr Films. Barr made a bunch of educational films. They weren't like one of the big assembly line educational film companies like Cornet or Encyclopedia Britannica, but they did do a lot of great stuff, really fascinating things. So I started today's count. We'll getting started soon with something that I had scanned. This is from the Cornet film collection. This is the original Kodachrome footage that was shot for what's the name of the film? Oh boy, I don't have it written down. It's I think it's A Day in the Classroom. Day in School. And it just seemed, when I scanned it, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what it's all about. Look at that kid. He has to go up on the stool, stepladder to access the projector. It's the whole thing. The teacher eventually runs it. Yes, this is what it's all about. So I figured that's appropriate to start a show with. Yeah, so I collect old 16mm educational films and show them, not unlike what you just saw in that footage. This next film, every once in a while, got to bust out another hygiene film for girls. This one is called It's Wonderful Being a Girl, and of course it's brought to us by, I can't remember if this is Modus Playtex. It's brought to us by a feminine hygiene product company. And essentially, almost all films made for girls about menstruation were made by and sponsored by a company that had something to sell. So this was very early advertising and trying to establish brand loyalty with young girls, to where they would watch the film in a separate classroom from the boys. Then they would be given a little packet or a little booklet that had a calendar on it, so they could track their periods, and also a coupon information. So it was establishing that brand identity very early on in brand loyalty. So here's It's Wonderful Being a Girl. And one of the things I like about this film is how she says sash, sash.
Girls even talk alike.
Hop, geez, great, neat, wow. Oh, Mom.
But no two girls are really alike. They're as different as Libby and Jean. That's because the way they feel about things is entirely different. Even though they're very close in age, both 12, soon to be 13. Libby's feelings are Libby's. Jean's are Jean's. just as your feelings are uniquely yours. And when will you notice this most? Now, when you're growing up, as Libby and Jean are. Now is the time that you'll begin to experience all kinds of new feelings you've never felt before. To help you understand this and make growing up a little bit easier, a lot more fun, we're going to see how Libby and Jean differ about a lot of things as they're growing up.
Well, here we are. Yeah. What time tomorrow? About 1. Okay. See you at the pool? Okay, bye. Bye.
Hi, Mom. Trini, dear. You're home. How do you feel? Fine. Did you have a nice time? Uh-huh. Did you do any painting? Finished this. Oh, gee. That's beautiful. I like it, too. Oh, darling, that reminds me. I bought some flowers for tonight. Would you arrange them for me before the guests arrive? You do it so well.
Mom, will it be okay if I take my bath first? I feel kind of icky.
Oh, sure, darling.
Are you still menstruating?
A little. Did you buy the sanitary napkins for me today?
Mm-hmm, they're on your bed. Now, you just go take a nice bath, and we can fix the flowers later.
All right, thanks.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, dear.
Did you see that dress at the teen shop?
What dress?
The one that was pale yellow with flowers across here and a sash in the back?
Oh, I know the one.
Oh, Mom, could I have it?
Libby, where would you wear a dress like that?
I'm as old as Jean, and she wears clothes like that.
Oh, come here, Libby. Jean is more developed than you are, dear. You still have your little girl looks and shape.
I know, but we're the same age.
But you're two different people. Some girls grow up sooner than others. Some not till they're 15 or 16.
I hope I won't have to wait that long.
I'm sure you won't, dear. Before you know it, a most important thing will happen.
What's that?
You'll begin to menstruate. Do you know what that means?
It means you can have a baby.
That's right. So your body prepares for it.
What do you mean?
Well, your body makes a warm, soft place out of blood and tissue for a baby to grow. And when there is no baby, the body gets rid of this blood and tissue through the lower part of the body.
That's menstruating?
Uh-huh. And once it starts, it'll happen every month for a period of a few days. That's why it's sometimes also called the period.
I don't know if I'll like it.
Oh, Libby, you said you couldn't wait to grow up.
I know, but it's kind of scary.
Oh, not at all, sweetheart. It's completely natural. It's part of being a girl. I'm sure that once you understand it, you'll see there's nothing scary about it. Come on, let me show you something.
I know, sanitary napkins.
Go ahead and open them.
I've seen them in my magazines.
Would you like to learn how to use them?
I guess I'd better.
All right. You'll need this sanitary belt, too, to hold them in place. It goes around your waist under your panties. Then, you put the short end of the napkin through the front fastener. And the longer end through the fastener in the back. See?
But won't it leak through?
No. The napkin absorbs the menstrual flow, so there's nothing to worry about. And, Libby, see this blue polyethylene on the bottom and side?
Uh-huh.
That's a special moisture-proof shield to prevent accidents. Besides, you should change to a fresh napkin every 3 or 4 hours.
What do I do with the one I take off? Flush it down?
No. You wrap it in toilet tissue or a paper towel and throw it in the wastebasket.
But, Mom, suppose it happens at school or someplace where I don't have this.
You look in the restroom.
If there's not a napkin dispenser there, you ask the nurse or a teacher. Oh, and Libby, I bought you this. It's a special sanitary panty you might want to try instead of the belt. The napkin fits right inside. You might find it more comfortable than the belt. The elastic loops hold the napkin in place.
Gee, Mom, they look just like my regular panties. Gee, thanks. Wow, we sure had some important talk.
Wow, I'll say we did. Oh, honey, you might want to keep the things in this drawer. Then they'll be handy for whenever you want them.
That's a good idea.
Hey, you better scoot off to the pool, huh?
Yeah, I don't want to be late. Hi, Libby. Hi, Jean. How's the water?
A little cold. It's okay.
Guess what?
What?
Boy, did I have some talk with my mother.
What about?
Menstruation.
Oh, that.
What do you mean, oh, that?
Nothing.
You knew about it before?
Sure.
How long?
About a year.
Do you?
Do I what?
Menstruate.
Of course, silly.
How come you never told me?
I don't know. I always felt it was kind of personal. And besides, it's nothing special. It happens to every girl.
What happens to every girl?
Womanhood.
Oh, you mean the curse.
What do you call it?
The curse. You know, being unwell.
Why do you call it that?
I don't know. Some people do. Hey, come on. Let's go swimming.
No. You go. We'll be in later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, that's an icky word. My mother called it menstruation.
Mine does, too. I guess we're kind of lucky.
You mean to learn about it from them?
Yeah.
But I guess you really don't know what it's like till it happens to you.
Come on, let's go swimming.
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad the shopping finished. It was so crowded in the stores.
Guess what, Mom?
You're menstruating.
How did you know?
Oh, I expected it. How do you feel?
All right, I guess.
You don't seem, quite as bubbly as usual. Are you sure you feel like bowling?
I'm all right.
Well, you're right, I guess. There's no need to mope around just because you're menstruating. But don't overdo, huh?
Okay, I won't.
Whenever they could get together, they talked things over. So naturally, Libby told Jean that she was menstruating for the first time. Jean could tell that Libby was feeling uncertain, a little unsure of herself. So she suggested that Libby might rather not bowl. But you know Libby, to her any sport was a challenge. Later, Libby wondered why she felt so glum and tired. She always enjoyed being with the kids, but today was not the same. She was confused about these new feelings. And worst of all, she didn't even seem to be hungry like the rest of them. It's the end of the week, and Jean is sleeping over at Libby's. Libby is her old self again.
Did you pass?
I think so, do you?
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
Yeah, but I think that'll be the lowest mark I ever had.
Oh, you're smart.
Not that smart. Is this okay now?
Fine.
I'll put it over here. I like it better.
Okay. Dorothy Mills has the measles.
Oh, yeah?
Wouldn't it be funny if she gave them to the whole class?
Ha ha.
How come you don't have any blemishes?
I don't know. I guess I must wash a lot.
I wonder if I'll ever be as tall as you.
5 feet isn't so tall.
Maybe I have a gland problem.
Why don't you ask Mrs. Cooper?
Yeah, out of everyone at school, I like her best.
Yeah, Monday she's going to talk with the girls about what happens when we grow up.
Oh, we already know about that.
Well, maybe we can learn something new.
What else is there to learn?
I know I promised that today we would discuss what it means to grow up. Well, some of you may already know something about it, but it's important to have a thorough knowledge so you realize there's nothing frightening or embarrassing about leaving childhood and entering young womanhood. You'll understand better if you know something about how you got to be a girl. So let's begin by examining the facts of birth. Now, actually, each of you began life about 9 months before you were born as a microscopic living organism, a single cell that resulted from the joining together of two other cells, one from your mother and one from your father. This little cell found a safe shelter in your mother's body, in a soft, blood-rich organ called the uterus. There, it divided into more cells until finally there are millions of tiny cells growing into a baby. And that baby lived in your mother's uterus for about 9 months until you were born. Then you grew up into the big girl you are today. Of course, you still have your little girl looks, but not for long. You are approaching adolescence. A gland called the pituitary begins to encourage different parts of your body to turn into that of a woman. Little by little, each one of you growing differently in height, weight, and bone structure. Your breasts will begin to develop, getting rounder and fuller. Your hips will fill out, taking on softer, more womanly contours. And a soft growth of hair will appear under your arms and in the pubic area. Your body will awaken internally, and those organs that make you uniquely a girl will begin to develop too. There are 2 ovaries, 2 narrow passageways called the fallopian tubes, and the uterus. And they're all surprisingly small. The uterus, not more than the size of a pear. The ovaries, not more than the size of walnuts. Then there's the vagina, the passage from the uterus to the outside of your body. As you approach your womanhood, these organs begin to function, and your very first menstrual cycle begins. The ovaries release an ovum, a single egg cell which finds its way into one of the fallopian tubes. Very slowly, this little egg cell travels through this tube toward the uterus. But before it gets there, the uterus prepares for it, builds up a special lining of blood and tissue, so that this little egg cell can grow into a baby if it were fertilized by a male cell. Now, if the egg is not fertilized, the special lining of blood and tissue is not needed and flows out of the body through the vagina along with the egg itself. This is the menstrual flow, the monthly breaking up of the special lining of the uterus. And when it's over, the whole process begins all over again. Your body prepares to release another egg cell. Your uterus prepares to receive it. And when fertilization does not take place, you menstruate again. The total flow is a rather small amount, lasting rarely less than 2 days, nor more than 6. This total process is called the menstrual cycle and lasts about 28 days. That's why you menstruate about every 28 days. Of course, in the beginning, until your body gets used to it, your periods may not be regular. This is not unusual. But give yourself time to get accustomed to this new experience, and before long, it will seem as natural as all the other days of the month. And let a calendar help you. Use it to keep a monthly record of your periods. There's a calendar for this purpose in the back of this little booklet, Growing Up and Liking It. As well as instructions for using it, and lots of other helpful information. Later, I'll give you each a copy before you leave. But now, one thing more I want to discuss. The importance of looking and feeling your best, not only during your menstrual period, but all month long. You may feel free to interrupt and ask questions if you like. Jody?
What if your hair needs washing during your period?
Wash it, but don't walk around with a wet head. Dry it quickly and thoroughly. Remember, clean hair and skin help prevent blemishes. Nancy?
What about bathing?
Jean, what do you say to that?
You can do it every day.
Right. A bath or shower every day, especially when you're menstruating, is certainly very important because you tend to perspire a bit more during that period. So, bathe, use a deodorant, change your underwear every day, and your sanitary napkins often, at least every 3 or 4 hours.
Mrs. Cooper, what about sports?
During your menstrual period, you can do almost anything you're used to doing on other days. If you're used to bicycling, bicycle. If you dance, dance. Just keep as busy and active as always. But just don't overexert till you're tired out, Libby.
Is it true that some girls have cramps when they're menstruating?
Some girls have them, some girls don't. If you do, don't be alarmed. They pass rather quickly. There's a helpful exercise for easing the cramps in this little booklet I told you about. Another thing, no girl can look healthy and pretty for very long if she skimps on 3 well-balanced meals a day or 8 hours sleep every night, particularly when you're menstruating. So remember, eat properly, get plenty of sleep, and if you do, you'll look better, have more energy, and when your period comes, you'll be better prepared for it, both physically and emotionally.
Libby has learned a lot of things she never knew about being a girl. But she still has to learn how to use this new knowledge. The kids are planning a big skating party, and Libby doesn't know whether she feels like going.
Well, I've got my period.
That's no reason not to go, silly.
Well, remember the last time when we went bowling?
I think we should go. You can take it easy.
You know I won't.
I'll remind you. We'll just skate around together.
It's a good party, but Jean finds herself skating alone. Fun, but Libby just sits there. When Jean asks why Libby isn't skating, Libby says she doesn't feel like it. Jean thinks that's a funny way to act. She tells Libby so and goes off. Now Libby is all alone and feels it. Unsure of herself, sorry she wasn't nice to Jean, but not knowing how to help it. Mrs. Cooper spies Libby and wonders why she isn't skating. When Libby explains that she has her period, her teacher doesn't think that's a reason for sitting on the sidelines. Libby admits she really doesn't want to miss the fun. Besides, she feels better now that Mrs. Cooper has reassured her. But she remembers how important it is not to overdo, and soon finds that she's having fun. She has even forgotten that she was ever angry with Jean, and realizes it was a good day in more ways than one.
Gee, Mom, I had a good time today. I don't mean just skating when I went bowling. And when Jean made me go, I got mad. But now I'm glad, 'cause she was right. You can have fun while you're menstruating, if you understand what's right for you.
I think my little girl is growing up. What was that you asked me about? A yellow dress? Libby is beginning to understand her feelings and how to cope with them. Now, growing up is all the fun it ought to be. In fact, if right this minute you asked her how she feels about it, she'd say, "It's wonderful being a girl."
Woo! YouTube was flagging comments left and right. I mean, you can't really say vagina, and YouTube let that get away. So even if you're talking honestly about menstruation. Hey, I wanted to share this with you. Inside some of the cans, you'll see things like this, or things like this. And the idea was that if someone showed the film and it got damaged, then you would report it. So when they got it back, then they could repair it before they shipped it back out again. This one says, if film breaks, please do not splice the film yourself. Use the green card to indicate the damage so it may be repaired by the Educational Resource Center. It is absolutely necessary to splice a film. Temporary mends may only be made with a bit of masking tape. Do not use scotch tape, staples, paper clips, etc. Having had a film with masking tape, scotch tape, other things, staples, yeah, not good. Anyways, there you go. Yeah, it's wonderful being a girl. It's really an amazing film. Very much typical of films of that time period. And most of them were actually sponsored by a feminine hygiene company of sorts. I think this was Tampax. But I would say in the probably late 60s, early 70s, filmmakers, specifically women filmmakers, were making films educating girls about menstruation and not a brand. And they were talking specifically, and it was really quite amazing, very progressive, still would work today, even though the hairstyles and clothing are different. Linda's film about menstruation is an excellent example of that. It's a really good film. Yeah, okay, so let's go from that to something completely different. This next film is about how to cook and prepare spaghetti. Serve spaghetti. Here we go.
Whether you serve the aristocrat, the scholar, or the workman, a young man, old man, sick man, woman or child, there are very few foods that please everybody. But there is one food that pleases people around the world and has been pleasing them for 7,000 years. The ancient Greeks were so pleased by this food that they named it Macaroni, their word for happiness. Times have changed and the word Macaroni has changed, but still today, happiness is macaroni. Macaroni, whether the shape is familiar or unusual, is basically the same food. In the United States, macaroni products are made in more than 170 sizes, shapes, and kinds. They all have eye appeal and flavor appeal of their own. And they combine tastefully and economically with an infinite number of other foods. Serving macaroni products will save you money. You can predict and control portions and costs. You can give your customers a bonus in menu variety without added expense. High-quality macaroni products owe their rich flavor and firm texture to the extra hard wheat from which they are made. This wheat, called durum, grows to perfection only in the north-central states. Durum is milled by special equipment into semolina, or granulars, a golden-toned coarse product that is combined with water and forced through dyes to make macaroni foods. Durum, ground into flour and mixed with egg solids, is used to make egg noodles. The golden tone of durum macaroni is the color of the grain itself. Artificial coloring is never used. 100% durum or semolina is your sign of a quality product. Macaroni, spaghetti, and egg noodles made from durum wheat do not leave a starchy, milky residue in the cooking water, and do not need rinsing unless pre-cooked for later use. Durum resists the tendency of non-durum products to become mushy. Versatile and adaptable, macaroni, spaghetti, and noodles may be used interchangeably in many recipes to add interest in taste, texture, color, and in the menu itself. Because macaroni shapes bulk differently, you should measure them by weight when substituting one for another. Just as different shapes of a given weight vary in bulk before cooking, they will vary in bulk after absorbing liquid during the cooking process. But no matter what shape you use, 1 pound of macaroni product will yield several generous portions. This pound of egg noodles accompanies chicken cacciatore, sauerbraten, sweet and sour pork chops, veal scallopini, and shrimp kebabs. Yes, durum macaroni products are generous with flavor, food value, and quantity. And since the proof of the pasta is in the eating, let's ask the chef how macaroni products should be cooked so that diners will get all of the flavor and food value.
There's nothing to it. In fact, macaroni products are so easy to prepare that cooks often take them for granted. To make palate-pleasing macaroni, here's all you need: the macaroni product of your choice, water, and salt to enhance the flavor. Whether you are cooking 1 pound, 3 pounds, or 30 pounds, you should use about 1 gallon of water and 2 tablespoons of salt for each pound of macaroni product. Here we are using a 5-gallon steam-jacketed kettle to cook 3 pounds of spaghetti. We are using 3 gallons of water and 3 ounces of salt, which is the equivalent of 6 tablespoons. In addition to enhancing flavor, the salt also liberates the oxygen and increases the boiling velocity. The water should be boiling rapidly when you add the macaroni product. Some cooks like to add about a half a tablespoon of oil or butter for each gallon of water to keep the liquid from boiling over. Add spaghetti, noodles, or macaroni gradually so that the water will not stop boiling. All surfaces of each piece must be wet quickly to prevent sticking. Stir if you have to be sure this quick wetting takes place. It may look as if there is a good deal of water compared to the amount of macaroni product, but it is the free circulation of the product in the water which prevents sticking and promotes uniform cooking. Continue cooking at a fast boil, uncovered. Fine noodles may cook in as little as 5 minutes. On the other hand, thick lasagna may take up to 15 minutes. Let the manufacturer's recommendations and your planned use be your guides. This will help prevent overcooking, a primary cause of poor quality macaroni dishes. Near the end of the estimated cooking period, test for doneness. Al dente, which means to the tooth, is the term used to describe the desirable firmness. It's tender and cooked through and yet still firm. Slightly chewy with the delicate flavor of the durum wheat itself. Once the macaroni product reaches this point of perfection, quickly drain it. Macaroni products are at their very best, cooked in small batches and served immediately. If the product is not served at once, it should be drained and then immediately cooled with cold water and agitation. This prevents the heat within the mass from overcooking the product and also helps to prevent sticking. The drained cool spaghetti can be held without sticking together. Oil-coated pieces will not dry out noticeably. If it is going to be some time before you serve the product, cover the storage container tightly with a lid, foil, or plastic, and refrigerate until needed. Don't store cooked macaroni products in the sauce unless absolutely necessary. You will have a much better and firmer product if you store and reheat the pasta separately, then combine with sauce. Pre-cooked macaroni products can be reheated to order. When you are ready to serve, immerse the cooked product in rapidly boiling water to heat, but do not continue cooking process. Use the reheated macaroni product just as you would if it were freshly cooked, and complete serving preparations. The reheated macaroni product can be combined with any number of other foods, quickly, easily, and economically. When reheating refrigerated macaroni products for quantity service, the principle remains the same. Have the water boiling rapidly when the cooked product is added. Maintain the boiling temperature, but do not overcook the product. Simply reheat. 3 pounds of macaroni product are enough for 1 steam table pan, 15 to 20 servings. A small amount of oil, butter, or fat added to any cooked macaroni product will help maintain separation of the pieces. If the macaroni, spaghetti, or noodles are to be used for steam table service, or as a part of a dish requiring further cooking, undercook them. Cut the cooking time by about 1/3. Then, after the macaroni product is combined with other ingredients, cooking time should again be kept to a minimum. Try to arrange your baking or cooking schedule to parallel serving needs, rather than pre-baking large batches of macaroni dishes. If you wish to freeze some of the prepared macaroni product, it is best to do so in a sauce. Watch the time carefully to avoid overcooking during the thawing and warming period. Or better still, freeze only the topping and combine it with a quick cooking pasta at serving time. Macaroni products are the original convenience foods and permit portion control of more costly foods, as well as quick convenience when cooking to order. In this 60-gallon kettle, 3 different kinds of macaroni product can be cooked at one time. 6 pounds to a basket, 18 pounds at a time. That's enough for 90 to 140 servings, with variety. Another batch can be cooked almost immediately in the same water. Only a little fresh water and a bit of salt and oil need be added to make up for cooking losses. The time saved between batches allows you to cook macaroni products in small quantities and serve it at its very best, fresh and hot. For cooking elbows and other compact macaroni shapes in large quantities, a mixer agitator kettle like this one here is ideal. Some of these kettles are also adapted for quick cooling. You can turn off the steam and circulate cold water in their jackets. The agitation also speeds the cooling process. Many types of cooking equipment are available to make macaroni products economical for you and pleasurable for those you serve. No matter if you are preparing a single portion or dozens, the basic principle is the same. 1 gallon of water for each pound of macaroni product, 2 tablespoons of salt, and, if you desire, a 1/2 tablespoon of oil for each gallon of water. And, oh yes, No matter how small or large it is or what type, don't overcrowd your cooking vessel. Use a quarter less water than the label capacity of your pot or the kettle that you desire to use.
Our compliments to the chef. Like all prime-grade foods, macaroni products are best when properly cooked. Always start with the finest Durham macaroni products. Maintain their color, flavor, and texture with correct preparation and skillful serving. The reward will be a low-cost, quality product that makes more expensive foods taste better, go further, and satisfy the appetite. The use of quality macaroni products made from Durham wheat increases your cost only a fraction of a penny each serving. It's a small price to pay for longer serving life, finer flavor, golden color, the firm texture of a prime product, and greater customer satisfaction. Macaroni, like all enriched wheat products, contains protein, carbohydrates, and substantial amounts of the B vitamins and iron. With low-fat, low-calorie macaroni products, you can offer your weight-watching customers something more than the usual fruit plate or salad. This satisfying meal, featuring stuffed manicotti, contains about 580 calories. Enriched macaroni products and noodles are nutritious as well as delicious, and best of all, they are versatile. As side dishes or alternates for rice or potatoes, as salads, served cold or hot, as desserts, noodle cake and pudding, with seafoods or meats in casserole dishes, in loaves with cheese, fish, eggs, or chicken, in soups like this Stockholm seashell soup. Macaroni products are always available. They require no special storage, any shelf will do. And their quality does not vary with the seasons. They are quick and easy to prepare. Just keep 3 important principles in mind when cooking macaroni products. Cook as near to serving time as possible in small batches. Do not overcook. Undercook for steam table serving and for use in baked dishes. The accurate portion control of macaroni products spells economy and efficiency to schools, hospitals, restaurants, and other institutional operations. The versatility of macaroni products brings new interest to old menus, luster to reputations, and customers back for more.
I would say the last 30 seconds of that film are my favorite. The surprised and happy look on the face, the patrons, who are obviously from different class, educational, and work backgrounds, all delighting in the fact that they're getting pasta for lunch or dinner. And the fact that there's a National Macaroni Institute. We need to look that up online to see if they still exist and see, it's a lobbying board to see exactly what they did. So this has a very similar feel to another film that I showed months ago, Adventures of Chip and Dip, which talk about the ease and convenience of making recipes with potato chips and how potato chips are made, how wholesome they are for you, part of your diet, as they are 97% energy, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, love this film. It's so good. Let's see. I think it's time to get some animation going. This next film is part of a show that I did called When Star Wars Ruined Educational Films. And basically, these are films that use science fiction tropes to kind of get their point across. And unfortunately, what they do is they just take the basic information and just kind of slap on a science fiction label, and the information is still as dry as before. Verb Star was an example of that, where it was like you have all these crazy puppets, and they're all like space bats and all this stuff, and you're just learning how to conjugate verbs, and it is nightmarish. This is not as bad as that, I should say, but it is the challenge of most films I have, which are math related. Most math films are not very interesting, so we will tread lightly and with caution.
Our story begins once upon a time far, far away. Not just as far away as another country, or as far away as the moon, but far, far away in another galaxy. Yes, our story begins on a planet called Grobolia. It was a very nice planet. It had beautiful skies and trees and oceans. But it was just too small for the number of people who lived there. So the Grobolians went off in search of new planets to settle. They discovered Serum, which was a fine place for miners, and Fessum, which was a fine place for fishermen, and Kalis, which was a fine place any way you looked at it, especially for farmers. Lintola and her brother Ajax decided to move to Kalis because they wanted to be farmers, but they couldn't fly to Kalis by themselves. They had to be part of a group that would fill a spaceship. Each ship held exactly 10 passengers. 10 Grobolians could get together and sign up for one ship. 30 could sign up for 3 ships. And 100 could sign up for 10 ships. But Lintola and her brother were only 2. They had to find a group of 8 passengers. They found a group of 6, a group of 7, a group of 2, but no groups of 8. Then they met another group that was heading for Kalis. This time there were 24 of them. They could fill 2 ships with 4 Grobolians left over. Even after inviting Lintola and her brother to join them, they still had only 26, so they had to find more Grobolians. Soon they came upon a group of 32. It was decided to see how many ships they could fill together. They made up 5 full ships, but there were 8 left over. It didn't work out. Then they found a group of 25. Together they could fill 4 ships with 11 left over. 11 could fill another ship with just 1 left over. It would all work out fine if that 1 left the group. Someone explained to Lintola that her brother could go to Kalis first and make a home for her, and then she could join him later. That night, Lintola began to feel very much alone. One day, Lintola met a Grobolian named Kryl. He told her that he would arrange everything for her. He'd find her a group, and she'd be off to Kalis in no time. There was only one problem, however. She might have to spend a little time on Fessum first. Cryle told her Fessum was not such a bad place. This picture was taken on a bad day. Normally, Fessum was calm and beautiful, and she'd enjoy the fishing. And in no time at all, he'd get her to Caylus. So she and 9 others boarded a ship for Fessum. It wasn't easy to find settlers for Fessum, and when someone did, they were well rewarded. For you see, Fessum wasn't a very nice place, and it had a lot of bad days. In fact, that was all Lintola ever saw, bad days. Lintola was miserable, and all seemed hopeless when she met a large family bound for Caylus. There were 23 of them, and Lintola would make 24. They found a group of 18, and that made 3 tens, which would fill 3 ships, with 12 left over. The 12 could fill a ship with only 2 left over. Oh well, the 2 could wait. Just as Lintola was ready to give up hope, Cryle appeared. He'd found a group for Lintola and her friend. There was a group of 17 and a group of 21. They could fill 3 ships with 8 left over. With Lintola and her friend, they could fill exactly 4 ships. Lintola was very grateful to Cryle, and she apologized for having doubted him. Lintola was anxious to see Caylus, but when she got off the ship, it wasn't Caylus at all. It was Serum. Serum was desolate and hot, and Lintola was miserable once again. When Cryle showed up on Serum, Lintola was furious with him, but he told her that Serum wasn't all that bad. In fact, she might even find diamonds in the mines. But all Lintola found in the mines was coal, and more coal. No one seemed happy on Serum, so Lintola organized a group of miners to go to Caylus. Since she was the organizer, she wouldn't be left behind this time. There were 27 of them, and they met a group of 16. Lintola had them form groups of 10. They had enough for 3 full ships with 13 miners left over. The 13 could fill a 4th ship with 3 left over. Those 3 could wait. But the 3 didn't want to wait. They'd been left behind before. They insisted that everyone draw straws to see who should stay. So everyone drew straws, and guess what? Lintola lost again. Lintola spent all her spare time at the spaceport waiting for a place on a ship. One day she spied Cryle about to leave for Caylus. She felt it was unfair that he could go to Caylus after all the tricks he played on her. That gave her an idea. She ran up to Cryle and thanked him for getting her to Serum. She had found diamonds after all. Cryle was delighted at Lintola's newfound wealth and offered to help her manage it. She could take his place on the ship and he'd handle the diamonds for her. Hesitatingly, Lintola agreed and drew him a map showing where the diamonds were. By the time Cryle discovered that her map led to a big empty space, Lintola was well on her way to join her brother on Caylus.
Oof. Yeah. You try to have this narrative that is pulls the kids out. It's like, you like Star Wars, right? You like thinking about fanciful other worlds and yikes. Anyways, this next film we're about to watch is Fire Not in My House. And I should just say a couple of things. One, thanks people for buying coffee. That's how AV Geeks survive, is based on coffee. And you can hit like and subscribe. But inside this can it says, the film was inspected before it was loaned to you. It will be inspected again when you return it. If inspection reveals more than 1 foot of film is damaged, you will be charged a repair fee. The repair fee is 30 cents per foot or a fraction thereof. After this film is inspected, you will be notified of any charges. So, there's a cost. There's a cost associated with not knowing how to run your projector. So, there you go. So this, here we go. Fire, not in my house. Here's a wonderful focus leader to where I'm supposed to adjust the sound level.
The film will then be ready for correct projection.
How'd the fire start?
It started in the garage. Fumes from some gasoline with a water heater.
Nah, it started in the basement. Some trash next to the furnace.
I heard it was junk in the attic.
No, it started in the backyard. Some trash and dry leaves by the house.
I heard it was a broken extension cord.
Talk about pollution. Some people are so concerned about world pollution, they forget about their own pollution, the junk around their house.
Yeah. The way some people live, they almost deserve a fire.
Fire? Not in my house. Fire? Not in my house.
How'd the fire
How'd the fire start?
I heard it was fumes from some gasoline with a water heater.
How'd the fire start?
I heard it was a broken extension cord.
How'd the fire start?
I heard it was junk in the attic.
This was Mother's. I can't throw this away. Oh, man! He can't save anything! Senior
just like a woman. She can't throw anything out.
How'd the fire start?
Started in the basement. Some trash next to the furnace.
Fire? Not in my house.
How'd the fire start?
How'd the fire start? That was an interesting film. Yeah, I definitely I like the little narratives, little situations where each person examines and thinks about potentially how a fire could start in their own home, and that's the point of a lot of these films, is how can you take the facts of how fires start and then get somebody to internalize it and think about, how does that apply to me? Thanks everybody for tuning in today. Got to see some great stuff, and very much appreciate your comments. You know, you can like us, you can buy us coffee, you can go to avgeeks.com. Whoa, that date is wrong. Holy cow, I just noticed, I'm looking up here, that date is wrong. Sorry about that. Anywho, join us tomorrow. We'll be showing some more films, 1 o'clock. And if you are in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, I announced that we're going to be doing a home movie day. So contact me if you're interested in what that entails on a virtual level. It's going to be similar to what we're doing here, but we're going to be watching home movies. And it's on September 12th. But people are bringing home movies to be digitized at our archive, and they're leaving them with us, and we're all social distancing, so it's not the one-on-one thing that we normally have with home movie days that we did earlier this year. So we're all keeping it safe and fun, and we will be playing home movie day bingo, which is actually loads of fun. So we'll see you tomorrow. Make some pasta. It's a great way to portion control. When you have a more expensive ingredient, you have like little tiny, super expensive meatballs, and then you can just pile on cheap pasta to fill people up. It's a great idea. Here's something that we find in cans. I'll be trying to share more with you when I find things in cans, but this is just again a reminder. Our mantra: please rewind and love each other. Maybe that's the AV Geeks motto. Please rewind, love each other. Smiley face, peace sign. Everybody have a good rest of the day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.